We have some of that mysterious, wild, and crazy music here on the Browns Fanatical pregame show. Yes, it's Christmas Eve, and I'm got my little. I'm Santa today, Steve.
I see that. I got my tree.
Oh, you got your little tree.
Brought my tree all the way from Nashville to Western North Carolina.
I love it. I love it.
Of course, I had to bring something Browns to put in the background. So
that's great.
Anything.
Well, we are the Fanatical. I got my Fanatical Elves. This is my shirt here. It's actually got the dog on it, but we are the Fanatical Elves Network, and this is our pregame show. The Browns have a big game this afternoon. It is Christmas Eve, though, and so, it's a wild and crazy time of the year, and the Browns are, we've had an opportunity to kind of sit back last night and kind of see some of the games that had some bearing on the playoff picture. The Cincinnati Bengals
both
played
games had bearings on the playoff picture.
Yes.
One worked and one didn't.
Yes. You want to talk about that?
Sure. A lot of people were saying that it would favor the Browns more if Cincinnati won. No, it doesn't. It would favor them more if Pittsburgh won, because Cleveland already has that tiebreaker, and we want to get Cincinnati out of the way, so that final game means diddly squat.
Right.
Like I said last week, looking at their schedule, they're pretty much stick a fork in the Cincinnati Bengals. And Pittsburgh's not making the playoffs. They need a Hail Mary and a lot of luck.
Full of grace.
It's not
I think they got don't they play the Ravens next week or the week after?
Week after. Ravens
really wonder.
Are at San Francisco, and then they host the Dolphins.
You wonder how that will pan out. Like, the Ravens and Steelers is going to be it'll be a big game, but you wonder, like, will the Ravens have it already locked up, and will they be playing all their folks? And if Cleveland's vying for, yes, you think so?
Well, it depends. I mean, they got a tough game against San Francisco. And they got to play a red hot Miami team, but they get that game in Baltimore, and Miami, plays great at home and doesn't play well on the road. But Miami's also trying to distance themselves from Buffalo, who seems to keep winning. But the only thing with Buffalo is they lose every tiebreaker, no matter what, because their AFC record is terrible. Those losses to AFC teams are coming back to haunt them. And they have no tiebreaker whatsoever. Right now, they're in the 6th seed behind Cleveland, and if Cleveland loses today, they knock the Bills out of the 6th seed down to the 7th, because Browns have a better AFC record.
Okay.
If the Browns win today and beat the Jets on Thursday, they're in.
Yes.
So that's all that matters.
It would have been nice. I mean,
control your own destiny, John.
Oh, absolutely. No, and you with being a Brown, we all know that it comes down every year to this. And if the Browns really have control right now, they really do. It would have been nice if Buffalo. I don't know how that game. It was pretty close, right down to the wire.
Close. It was 14-10 at half, and that's when I went to bed. So
and they were,
and I was following it on my on my phone, because I ain't paying for Peacock. Give me a break. I pay for
what is that? Yeah.
Come on. A game with playoff
all the people on social media complaining
on Peacock.
I know. I know. We had this conversation a few weeks ago. I know I was doing a radio program. Harold, who does they're called Voice Corps down here in Columbus, and it's radio for the blind. And he and I had this conversation about Peacock on the air, and just all these extra things. And, are you going to pay for it? Because Peacock also was showing like one of the Buckeye games, and Buckeye fans
show a Buckeye game.
Yeah. And they're like, are you going to pay the extra price for it? He did. But
I did a free trial for the Buckeye game, and then I canceled.
Okay. And then you can cancel. And then, there are probably folks that did that as well. But it's, so the playoff picture really right now, I mean, the Browns really control their own destiny. They have to go down to Houston.
Yeah,
and they're playing an old familiar face in Case Keenum.
Case Keenum.
Yeah, and going on the road, playing in Houston. Houston's coming off a pretty big win, comeback win, overtime.
But that was against the Titans. Give me a break.
Well, I got you, but the Browns traditionally this year have not played great on the road, especially defensively. Yeah, their defense sometimes goes in hibernation, and they
play well for 2 quarters, the second and third quarter. They have gotten outscored in the first quarter, and then all of a sudden they come back and they're within a score, and then all of a sudden the wheels fall off.
Yeah,
in the fourth quarter. So I think it'll be a little different with Joe Flacco.
By the way, they were showing Joe Flacco last night. Just to throw this out there, I don't know. NFL Network was showing the replay of the 2012 season, 2013 Super Bowl between the Ravens, Joe Flacco, who threw 3 touchdowns in the first half of that game. They called the blackout game, where then they hung on for dear life and beat San Francisco. And Colin Kaepernick, who mysteriously left or was never to be seen again in the NFL. You talk about a strange set of circumstances and how the NFL and their the Borg, like the left guard always talks about.
Oh, they are the Borg.
they definitely had their you talk about entertainment and all this stuff and what people do in the NFL and how there was stuff offline this week about the referees and what they're doing in the NFL, and are they getting letting things go, or there's so much stuff out there. It is entertainment, it really is. But it's it's football, but you just always there's always that. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with all this. All I know is
you're just wandering along.
I know I'm wandering.
Did you drop breadcrumbs for this story?
I know. So back to this game with the Browns coming in here. They are favorites from what I understand.
They went from a 2.5 point underdog to a 2.5 point favorite when it was announced that CJ Stroud was still having symptoms. He wasn't out yet. He was just having symptoms.
Yeah.
So I guess that proves Oracle's point that when you have a franchise quarterback, the line will move a lot.
Yeah. But by the way, thank you to the Oracle, Elliot, our colleague, who is producing a number of Oracle shows. So thank you very much for that this week, pushing them out. And again, Steve, you have your Dog Pound South show. Now, I don't know if you'll be doing one tomorrow because it is Christmas.
I'll probably wait till Tuesday.
Yeah.
I've got quite a drive ahead of me tomorrow.
Yes, you do.
To go see my brother-in-law.
Up and over a mountain, but that's...
Up and over a mountain.
I don't envy you. I've said this before, but I'm not a very good driver in general, but I just don't like to drive over mountains, especially. But no, I'm not a bad driver. I've been supported and criticized.
Nice
it is. I'm sure it is. Yes.
Yeah.
It's got very warm weather this winter. Not that we're reporting on the weather on the show this morning, but crazy that they said only like 10 or 13% of the country will have snow on Christmas Day, which is like a record. I'm telling you, global warming is a real thing. And El Nino, I think is what they call this. And so it's funny here in Columbus, they showed last night on the weather report here, the last 3 winters. It's crazy. Last winter, and if you maybe remember this, at Christmas, it was below zero, and we had 4 or 5 inches of snow. The year before, it was 62 degrees in Columbus. And the year before that, in 2020, we had 3 inches of snow here in Columbus. So it can't make up its mind. It's going back and forth between hot and cold.
In Nashville, it was below zero. And now I think tomorrow it's going to be 68 degrees.
Nuts. Just nuts.
And rain.
All right.
Tons of rain.
Let's take a quick break,
about Houston.
Steve. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about the Houston Texans and what they're up against with our Cleveland Browns. This is the Fanatical post-game or pre-game show. We'll be right back on Christmas Eve. We are back and hope you enjoyed those Christmas Eve style commercials and you're getting ready for your festive things that are coming up for you and your family. I know here we're having our kids over tonight. We're opening our presents this evening, and we're doing a lasagna. And then I'm making my famous Johnny Cleveland meatballs. That's right. You heard that right. They're the Johnny Cleveland Christmas Eve famous meatballs. So we'll have those along with the lasagna. Yep. So we'll be doing all that tonight. We're going up to Worcester tomorrow to go see friends and family on my wife's side of the family. So that we're looking forward to that. Steve, you got plans? What are you're traveling right now, right? You're kind of in the middle of
I'm in Western North Carolina, just gonna go see my brother-in-law, my wife and I, and spend the day with him, and then come back, and that'll be about it. Merry Christmas.
Yep.
We might eat at the assisted living that he's at. I don't know. They offered us lunch the other day, and it looked pretty good. So we might.
That's good.
I don't know. They'll let us bring our dog in. That's the important thing.
The assisted living. I know even back in the day when I was 30 years ago, or I'd go see both grandparents were there in a facility or place up there in Cleveland, and they would have some really good meals, especially around the holidays. I remember spending time with them. So let's shift gears. Houston Texans. What do we know about Houston, and what are you expecting to see later this afternoon with the Texans? Obviously, Case Keenum will be quarterback.
Case Keenum, who thrives on doing the short pass. So our linebackers are going to have to play well. They've got a little running back, and he's one of those types of running backs that I can't stand, like Mr. Warren in Pittsburgh, and Mr. Williams.
Who's the guy?
Devin Singletary.
Okay, yep. I think I have it on one of my fantasy league teams.
He can run and he can catch the pass. So the linebackers and the safeties will have to pay a lot of attention to him. Their offensive line is not the greatest. They do have a couple good players, of course, Tunsil.
Yeah,
he's
true.
Matter of fact, he's the only guy that survived since opening day. All the other four have gotten hurt, but they're inside their center, and I believe it's their left guard aren't the greatest in the world. So I can see some pressure coming up the middle from the Browns.
Do you
I'm
think
not
that
sure
Miles
which wide receivers are going to play, because Nico Collins was listed as questionable.
I remember Nico.
Yeah, he does have Robert Woods, longtime NFL veteran. The
LA,
Browns
yes,
behind him.
Yes, we played this team a year ago. This was the game, and I don't know how much the roster's turned over since last year. I'm sure a little bit.
Quite a bit.
Okay.
And different quarterback.
Obviously,
Mills was our quarterback last year, and
right.
Of course, Deshaun Watson started his first game and was rusty as hell. It was the Tony Fields scored touchdowns game.
Yes.
So and on defense, they play a 4-man front and can be overachieving. They've got a guy named defensive end named Greenard. He's like a 4 or 5 year veteran, and going into this season, he had 11 career sacks. He has 12 and a half just this season.
Wow.
And they've got 2 defensive tackles, Malik Collins and Sheldon Rankins, who both have 5 sacks each, and both of those are career high.
Now, wait a second. Sheldon Rankins.
Yeah, he used to play for the Jets.
And weren't we in pursuit of him maybe this offseason? Was that one?
Not this offseason, a couple off seasons ago.
Okay. All right.
When Woods was the defensive coordinator.
Right.
Their secondary is pretty good. But the one thing they're not good at is tackling. They're 31st in the league in tackling. I think the Pro Football Focus rate is 39.1.
Okay.
And both their linebackers, I believe, are either out or questionable, and they weren't that good to begin with. They give up like a QBR of over 94 to tight ends.
Yeah.
So I expect big games again from David Njoku, and it would nice to see Harrison Bryant have a big game. And I wouldn't even be surprised if Atkins catches a few passes. So that's the thing with Flacco.
Yes.
He is putting the ball to different receivers. He's actually looking to throw to the open one, not his favorite one, which is kind of a change of pace from the other guys we've had this year. So I expect if they can control the clock, stop the run, figure out a way to run the ball. Houston is like 6th against the run.
This seems like a good game for like Pierce Strong, big guy, kind of inside dome.
It would be,
runs.
But, you know,
I mean, he had a nice run at the beginning of last week's game. It got called back on holding. Hopefully we'll get a few holding calls called against the opponent. My God, just crazy how, Myles Garrett. I'm talking about Myles Garrett, obviously, and
well, he shouldn't have said anything, and you kind of figure it was going to happen the next game that the officials would close their eyes.
What is he sitting on with sacks? Is he at 13 or 14
Still
sacks
13. Right, still 13. The sack on the 2-point conversion against Jacksonville, it wasn't a sack.
Right.
No, it's just called a failed conversion.
Yeah. It's funny when you talk to people that don't like Myles Garrett. They'll always say he starts out strong and then he finishes lousy. Well, that's just ridiculous. I mean, just watch the tape. The guy is just being brutalized.
Well, let me put it to you this way. Last week, they were holding him. Chicago was just about every play, about 2 or 3 of them. They tackled him.
Yes.
But he still had 11 pressures. Now think about that. You know, no sacks, but still had 11 pressures. They were double teaming him, triple teaming him, tackling him. And he still had 11 pressures.
Yeah, amazing.
So it's going to be interesting to see what they do this week.
I think that he's going to get in there today. I just think that
I do too. I think he is too.
We'll sit back and watch, but I think at some point, it might be later in the game, like maybe a big moment. We'll need him to pop up and he'll get there. But we'll see. I think there's all signs suggest that the Browns have a very good opportunity going into this game. Having Joe Flacco in there, the veteran presence, I think he's continuing to learn the offense, understand his personnel. Obviously, Amari Cooper is 15 yards removed from 1,000-yard season, which is kind of big. That's a kind of a standard for a good wide receiver in the NFL to hit that mark. Yep.
And it's indoors.
Yep.
So look for Marquise Goodwin to run down the field and get underneath maybe a couple this time.
Oh, that'd be sweet. Well, it was a beautiful throw and catch that they got last week, and I felt really good. I talked about it on one of my shows. Marquise Goodwin is one of my favorite football players.
Do you remember that? You remember that late catch by Njoku to get it down in field goal, past field goal range? That was set up because Goodwin went down the field and drew the safety in the corner. And if you notice, when Njoku was catching the ball, there was a defensive end covering it.
Yes.
And the linebacker was in the middle of the field. So they, that long 57-yarder to Goodwin set up that play.
No. So in Njoku, he's having his best career season, and he'll probably continue that over the next 3 weeks. I don't see that changing. I don't know what his yardage is at. He could hit 1,000 yards potentially if he had another big game or so. He had a big game last week. I don't know. I think he's at 700 and some yardage.
This is a good game for him. I said, their linebackers aren't the greatest in coverage, especially.
Well, I certainly expect that Joe Flacco will be throwing the ball about 40 plus times again, because that's what he's been doing every time he's hit the ground.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Don't fix it. No, I agree. I think at this point in the season, you just got to go with what's working, and that's working. I think it'll be a great time. I think we'll have a post game show here. I don't know if Steve, if you'll be available, but I know we've got festive stuff coming up, so we'll probably do this post game. If you're listening right now or tune into our pregame show here on Apple or Spotify, we'll have that post game probably pretty quickly right after the game, because I think I got to cook Christmas Eve dinner. So I got to get that going. I'm actually going to start working on it right now. And
there you go.
So I think we got the kids coming over about 5 or 6. So I got to do that post game prior to that. Anyway, Browns are going to win. We know it. Go Brownies. Steve, final take before we let everybody go.
Big game. Let's just keep it simple. Keep doing what we're doing. Skip the turnovers. And just defense, be there late. That's all I want. That's all I want. Let's get a lead on these guys and not give up.
Yep. Absolutely. Merry Christmas, everybody. Go Browns. And we'll
Merry Christmas
on the Victory Show. Merry Christmas.
Go Browns.
All right. Take care, everybody.